Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VC TV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and today we've got a fun episode packed with two outstanding guests and investors who invest in this space and many others to join us today to tell us what's happening when it comes to the future of work and education. But more importantly, we're going to go down the roads around different technologies and industries that intersect with the future of work and education. So you, audience, get educated on what is happening as terms of the latest technology trends and also opportunities in both these spaces if you're looking to invest and or start building. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to VC TV. Make sure you click subscribe to tune in every day, all day to all episodes of VC TV as we bring the best and the brightest from around the world to share their thoughts and insights on different technologies, industries, and subjects like today, so that you, again, know what to pay attention to and also where to start building, and those opportunities are as well. And if you'd like to be on a show like today, do reach out. We'll find that right spot for you. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VC TV possible every single day, whether it's here on VC TV or in Clubhouse and many other outlets that we're on as well. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce today's guest. First and foremost, the Grand Master of Artificial Intelligence himself, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary Fowler.
You always get me with this Grandmaster stuff. I got to tell you. Anyhow, my name's Gary Fowler. Great to be here, Kyle. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, 17 companies. Do a lot of speaking engagements. This is my fourth one already today. So I start out early in the morning in Asia and all the way to here. We believe that AI is the new electricity, and I focus on AI and quantum companies. I've done 2 unicorns on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, which is a remote workforce management company that I started 4.5, almost 5 years ago. It's unbelievable, actually. In April, it'll be 5 years. Unbelievable.
Wow.
So I am the CEO, president, and co-founder of Get Shit Done GSD Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio that curates companies from all over the world to use Silicon Valley as a port to help them go global. And, you know, as we said, Kyle, it's interesting because we speak about unicorns, but unicorns are mythical creatures that don't exist. So people are striving, companies are striving to be something that doesn't really exist. Our thing is to make it real. So great to be here today, and great to see you and Wendy, and look forward to the show.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary, and we're excited to have you. Wendy, welcome back as well. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Why not get a fun intro like Gary?
Oh, okay. Hold on. We'll start it back up. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back the one and only Wendy Diamond, the greatest of the greats, and the grand master of everything blockchain, crypto, social, sustainability, climate, and pets. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Wendy Diamond.
Thank you. Hey, I'm Wendy Diamond. I am the founder of Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization that's in 144 countries to empower, celebrate, and support women in business to alleviate poverty. So we work with entrepreneurs all over the world. We work with governments, business leaders, civil society to collaborate to find solutions to uplift women in business. Official day proclaimed by U.S. Congress, Governor Cuomo, Mayor de Blasio, King of Qatar, all these people. And that is my goal in life, is to bring that 2% of funding towards women founders up to 80%. Let's say 80%. And so, woohoo! And then I'm a social entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I've never had a job, so I really understand, you know, how to create and to be passionate about whatever you do and have a purpose, because that drives you to success. And I'm also invested in 20 startups in the impact space, specifically women-led and impactful only. And then I'm also a limited partner in 3 funds that are in investing in disruptive technology and Bitcoin, et cetera. And I work with them on the impact companies that we work on. And so that's me. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you both. And Wendy, I want to jump right in. I mean, you've put together the organization that you have. You focus so heavily in impact education. Let's start there before we get into the future of work. Education is incredibly important. It's growing in terms of that importance and reach, along with technology. What have you seen in terms of the future of education and how technology is really pushing it forward and helping students everywhere of all ages really adapt to new ways of learning?
Yeah, so as we spoke about blockchain and everything, and one of the things about our foundation that we've been supportive of in the last 4 years is focus literally on disruptive technologies, and blockchain being one of them. And I see the future, and you're looking at this with MIT, and look at like Gary Gensler now, a professor who's going to be coming into the Fed department. Is you look at every college in America, and especially in America, but also all over the world, in Europe including, and China has this a major focus as well, is focused on blockchain and focused on about, okay, what, now that everyone's virtual, and we have to really thankfully thank Zoom and other platforms like Zoom that have enabled us to continue education during this time, especially during the pandemic. But this is here to stay. This isn't going to just end when we go back to normal and we're back at school, et cetera. We're going to look at what has blockchain brought to education. And it's about increased transparency, right? Mm-hmm. It's about, record keeping and reporting, et cetera, and enabling this to forever be on the blockchain. Accountability through smart contracts, right? And that's another big aspect to what's going to happen in the future of, education, et cetera. But I think one of the most important things is I talk to a lot of people, like a lot of my friends have kids and stuff like that. And I'm like, how in the world can they, be at school? And they're saying really like it's almost impossible for the old ways and the archaic ways that we've educated children, right? And now, with blockchain, you can have really fun incentivizing with learning, like, tokenization and enabling them to really understand and, by, giving gamification towards education. I think that is the absolute future. So anybody in this space, especially, there's so many opportunities and all the big players are already in it, from Sony, et cetera. So I think that, really what we're going to see in the future is a lot more literally at home learning, even when schools go back, because they're going to realize that the way that we can teach today is going to be a lot different than the past.
Yeah, be education on the go, right? Everyone's got a cell phone in their hands, which is
at your own pace, which is another interesting thing, right? So, like, let's just say you have a class and you have an assignment. The technology today in education is there's verification. We can track your eyes. We can track whether your eyes look down, cheating, right? You can track. So in the ways that people are taking tests now is a lot different as well. And that's going to go through, everything we do in the future as well. But, I think verification and validating and online is going to be the future, because you could then graduate, right? And actually, they can track your eyes to see that you completed the test, you didn't look over here, you didn't walk away from your computer, et cetera. So I think we're going to see a lot more in this space.
That's a great point. And Gary, thank you, Wendy. Gary, anything to add on to Wendy's point, but then also where does data play a role in this? Because we've got all this, tracking of information. How can we leverage data to improve education or to customize education as well, which we've talked about for years? But first, anything to add on to Wendy's, and then we'd love to hear what your thoughts are around education. Gary, all wonderful points. I think you might have been muted. There you go. I got you.
So I only said one, but I was trying. Anyhow, we got, so things have changed over this pandemic. And I know, Kyle, when we first got started on this adventure last March, right, or April timeframe. Yep. So we've adapted in a whole lot of ways, and some of the ways are kids, college students, etc. People in general just couldn't go in at the same time, go into a location for the most part, but at the same time look at the world of opportunities that's opened up for them, because you can now travel. So travel across the internet. And it's more acceptable than it was before. Now, where is it going to change? So hyper personalization and customization, being able to really personalize that experience for that child, to gamify it, to get them interested in playing and becoming educated. Because just doing it online is boring, but doing it where it's exciting, where you can compete and collaborate, is interesting. So VR and AR. So imagine being able to sit in your home, wherever you are, and to be able to travel to Kenya, to go on a safari, to Zimbabwe, to go to Rwanda and see mountain gorillas. Those kind of experience, those real experience of bringing home, are going to dramatically increase the retention level. As a psychologist, I remember when we used to talk about memory. If you see things and touch them, they become more real. So those kind of technology. At the same time, mobile. So, as the democratization of opportunities that I've talked about many times, it's really changed things because intellectual capacities are evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. And now with mobile coming in, and especially, Kyle, 5G and 6G. So the good news is this wouldn't have happened the way it has happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. We wouldn't have taken and it's been a hard road, no question about it. But we wouldn't have taken so many, and I don't want to say quantum leaps forward because we know what that means, but leaps forward if it wasn't for the pandemic. The pandemic has given us an opportunity. So it's not only school children, it's not only college students, but I got to tell you, I'll jump online myself and I'll take a Coursera course just because it's just interesting to take it. Things that we normally wouldn't have done before we do it. So we have a lot more time in some senses. Of course, for me personally, I was traveling up to my office from San Jose up to Palo Alto. Sometimes it could take me 2 hours in the morning to get there, an hour and a half, 2 hours to get back. I've now got more time to do things. And now with being able to literally, here we are, you're in California. I don't know where Wendy is today, New York or New Jersey. And I'm down in Palm Beach in Florida. But we can be anywhere at any time and learn all kinds of things from different sources. So if I'm sitting here, I could be at Harvard. I could be in Dresden, Germany. I could be at Moscow State University in Russia. I could be in China and Beijing. It's expanded the opportunities for each and every one of us. But now we've got to look at things like collaboration to keep it interesting. The things that kids would do in school, once they get back to school, once they get back to university, how do we learn the lessons learned? How do we improve and allow this to be able to happen in a more global basis? So students from anywhere to anywhere.
So with that, Gary, I want to come back on the AR VR for a second. Is that something we really are going to see in the near future, or is it just we hope? Is it just a dream? We've talked about AR and VR in the classroom for decades. It feels like it's just a never-ending topic, but yet it's still not there. And if we are in a more flexible environment, headsets are expensive. Yes, they're coming out, and yes, they're getting cheaper, but headsets are expensive. When it comes to AR, thankfully, there's a lot of gamification, to Wendy's earlier point, that puts that power in people's hands. But is this something we're really going to see, or is it just a tool for the moment? And again, just kind of something we hope will come. Gary first, and then Wendy on that.
The situation is, based on Moore's law, right? So every 18 months, the power doubles and the price stays the same. So, it's the prices were really, so look at 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we didn't have the technology that we have today. We didn't have the power of an iPhone or an Android phone that we do today. So in terms of the headsets, the Oculus Rift, the headsets, the prices are, as the technology improves, prices are coming down. And it generally happens, so it does happen in a classroom setting. Will it happen for everybody right now? Right this second, no, but that's the way it works. It starts to come in. Schools start to accept it. Universities start to accept it more and more. Using your phone as part of that device will start to happen more and more. I saw when I was on Apple Books, I was looking at virtual books that are incredible. Right? You would turn the pages, and I was doing it on my iPad. You would actually become one with the book. So it said, well, let me tell you about what climate change is all about. And I'll start to show you the videos and talk to you through it. So, a living book. So what has happened is the price of technology is finally at the right kind of level. We're going to see more of the mass adoption. Is it going to happen everywhere? No. Is it going to start to penetrate other areas that it has never done before? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because guess what? We're at this, I don't know if, what happened with you in the beginning of the pandemic, but I went from, 2 Macs to 5 Macs, right? I never said I was going to get a desktop before, and I got a gigantic 27-inch Mac in front of me. I said never would I do it a year ago because I want the portability. Now I want the convenience. So it's changing. It's not going to happen overnight. And, you know, we got to do a much better job, to Wendy's point. There are places around the planet that are not up to speed, but I'm encouraged. I have 3 companies in Africa myself today. And I'm encouraged by how technology penetration has even helped in Rwanda, right? Of course, South Africa has it, in Nigeria. It's not at the level it should be. The internet is not stable yet, but then we have Starlink and other things coming out that are trying to democratize that too. It's happening and is converging all at one time.
Well, and so mentioning of Starlink, let's switch gears on this other side of the topic. So future of work. And how that picture is being painted as we look at it today. And Wendy, I want to come and start with you around this. Blockchain plays a very big role, but in general, how are you seeing the future of work as technology has really put forth a lot of effort into where we are today, but going forward, where do you see this happening?
Yeah, and I want to also follow up with what Gary was saying. I mean, in 2020, they literally said that there was over 500 million esports followers, 500 million. So when you think about what's going on now with gaming, I mean, Madison Square Garden, when it was open, there would be 30,000 people watching one person play a video game, right? So virtual reality is here. It's just that we, now need to make it more mainstream because the millennials and the Gen Zs, they're all into it, right? And so I think that going forward in the future, I think this is going to be happening very quickly. And the future of work, I mean, there's no better time to be an entrepreneur. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, the gig economy, right? I mean, we just saw what happened last week with Uber and London basically saying these were workers, right? That they're going to be actually, and they have access to vacation days, et cetera. So that's a little stop in the gig economy. But when you think about it, especially in what I'm focused on is, anything that has impact in the world. But of course, I love pets. So anything to make people, pet parents have easier lives, look at, I mean, I've even considered this because I love dogs, like walking dogs, right? Mm-hmm. You've got WAG. So anyone could be a dog walker. Anyone could be a dog sitter. I just looked at a new deal with groomers. Listen, to get a dog groomed during this pandemic has been almost impossible, right? Mm-hmm. Because all the stores have been closed, right? And then how do you find when you got to search, on Yelp or whatever? But there was no way to really connect directly to groomers. Now there's a new company basically creating, that opportunity as well for groomers around the world. So I think that right now there's no better time. I love, now during this time, taking care of my house. Well, my God, look at TaskRabbit. It was just sold to IKEA a couple years ago. And it's one of the greatest things if you at home. So I feel like right now there's no better time to be an entrepreneur. But I think also the future work, as we've seen with COVID, we've all thought like robots were going to take over, but look at right now what's happening, right? Like we've now had to figure out quickly, there's over 80 million people in the United States right now on unemployment, over 200 million worldwide. I mean, we are really being forced and we've really got to figure out how are we going to enable these people to work, right? And so that's why I believe the gig economy is really important and with every trade, whether it's painting, whether it's whatever, there's opportunities for everybody in work. And, listen, robots and, driverless cars and the whole thing, I think we've got to look at that in the trucking industry. I mean, look what's going to happen. So literally in America alone, I mean, there's I think it's like almost 9 million truck drivers in the US. And they're saying by 2027, they're not going to be needed anymore. So self-driving trucks and that whole industry is going to change. And we've really got to figure out where are we going to put and place all these other people that are losing these jobs. And that's where I think I personally would love to invest in. I'd love to learn more about. I'd love to find companies that are attacking these problems because I think that these are really big issues that we're going to have, and especially in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy. Gary, anything to add? But again, same question to you. Future of work, what do you see happening as technology? I mean, again, artificial intelligence, data. Something has to happen with this data. We can't just have data. Something has to be done with this in some way. And when you look at the future of work and how We are interacting so much more digitally than ever. That should open up more data than ever that can be analyzed and used in some way, shape, or form. So what are you seeing as the future of work, Gary?
Well, I mean, with EVA, that's what we do, right? Remote workforce management. So one of the things is really how do you manage think about how traditionally how we would manage a workforce. So we would do a year-long review, a year review. Well, imagine if there was a problem 2 or 3 months in, but you're not reviewing somebody for a year or every twice a year. So it's, the model's just not right. And when we start looking at technology, and again, as you know, I talk about whether it's health tech or work tech, we need to understand, we need to keep a pulse on what's happening at any point in time so we can course correct. So if I'm the CEO of a company located in Silicon Valley and I've got 18,000 employees around the world, how in the world do I manage them? What, I got to get my manager to the manager to the manager to be able to figure it out. Well, imagine having a dashboard. We could now see and figure out what team's doing what at what particular time, how active they are, whether they're happy or not, those kind of things. So when we built EVA, it was directly that. And the first thing we found is we could actually forecast somebody that's going to leave a company up to 6 months in advance of their departure. So imagine a high value employee that you don't want to lose. Why? Because they don't get along with the manager or don't have problems with a coworker. So why don't we address those things early and get those resolved? With the pandemic, before the pandemic, to Wendy's point, I love pets. I love dogs and cats too. But, if you were home and you happen to have your dog near you and it barked, it was a bad thing. Now it's not such a bad thing anymore, right? It shows that you've got some humanity. We've changed. I believe we become a lot more compassionate. So the future work on one side, we're going to have these technologies that can help us manage our remote workforces better. We're going to have technologies to help educate a lot better than we do today. I mean, traditionally, you could go in a room, you'd have a 3-day training class in a hotel, you'd come out and that's it. Why would we do that? Why not use customized programs that can help you learn better, that can assist you and tutor you to get through the job? And the other thing is we need to continually have workforces that have upgraded skills. It's not like it was before where you could sit on your skills for 2 or 3 years or 5 years and not upgrade them. You need to consistently upgrade to make sure that you're high value. In terms of the data, of course, with robotic, I'll start with robotic process automation. Those low value jobs that we have in banking, et cetera, all over, those low value jobs just aren't going to exist anymore because we don't need them. What we need to do is retool people for more high value jobs. And that's happening. Is it happening as fast as it should? No, but we need to retrain because RPA is coming. RPA is in. What we need to do is make sure that we're using talents wisely and not wasting our money. So things like, analyzing code and going down through as a mundane job. Those things are going to go away. In terms of self-driving trucks, I was with Magna, which is one of the largest contract car manufacturers in the world, with their executives out in Las Vegas. And they showed me the next, one of the generations of trucks that they have that actually, this one's for moving people around, but actually reconfigures itself based on who calls it. So seats go down, seats go up, storage areas expand, go down based on what need is. And you're right, it's going to happen. It's going to happen all the way around. So in terms of work, we've got these technologies coming in. Robotics that used to, like painting a car, used to be a job that you would do by hand out in Detroit. Now the situation is all robotic. The quality of the finish goes up. The time to be able to get the job done is faster. But now we need people that can actually program those machines, those robots, to be able to do the right job. Now we're going to have robotics in those, and it's already started in those manufacturing facilities that talk to one another. Well, we need to slow down the line because we got a little problem with this car. There's an issue. Those kind of things are just going to automate, but we're still going to need people to, at least today, we're going to need people to go in and do the programming, to be able to use those programmable controllers and make sure they work. In the future, with unsupervised AI, they're going to start to program themselves.
which is where things will get interesting, very interesting. With that, I want to come to you both for your big bold prediction for the year. And Wendy, I want to come to you first around both blockchain, also impact and pets. Your three predictions for each of those. So one prediction for each: blockchain, pets, and impact. Where do you see things going in terms of this year for those industries?
So I believe in the pet industry. I think your vet's going to come to your home, your groomer's going to come to your home, right? Your dog walker, your dog sitter. So I feel like that whole industry has been disrupted, but I also think that's a positive, because I think if you see it, we want the one-on-one connections, right? And we want to have those relationships. And also in the pet industry, you're going to also see everything is becoming digitized right now. I just invested in a pet fund where we're invested in a couple of those companies. And so I see what's happening in the world with that. In education, I think, listen, all the biggest companies in the world are investing in their employees, right? And to making their lives better and impactful. So we, CSR programs, et cetera. There's a lot of different technologies that are coming out to support that, but also track it, right? Because people want to know how much time did you spend, donating your time to support college students, et cetera. And so that, to me, is the future of this industry, especially this year. I think is the best time, because I think everybody's looking for hope and purpose. And then, with education, woohoo! There's no better time to learn. I mean, we've got every college in the world is offering free classes, et cetera. So I think that's also the future, but it's also about those colleges figuring out, how do we look at the future when now most people don't want to go to school, right? A lot of people, there's a big percentage that says, you know what, I don't want to go back. So how are they going to sustain themselves? And they're going to have to figure out ways as well, kind of going into, Gary mentioning virtual reality, that is going to become bigger. And I've got a lot of people in our foundation that's focused on that as well. So that's my thoughts.
Wonderful. Thank you, Wendy. Gary, a big question for you. So looking at AI, big prediction for the year, but even bigger prediction, quantum. Where do things go in terms of quantum computing here over the next year? And again, artificial intelligence. Your two big, bold predictions for the year.
Yeah, so we're going to move from semi-supervised to unsupervised AI. You're going to see more of that movement, where the machines the systems start to make decisions for us, to understand our lifestyles. I also am seeing a focus on emotion AI and compassion, because we just can't have pragmatic systems or nothing good's going to happen for the future. So we finally, it's not just AI, it's machine learning and deep learning. Finally, companies are understanding it. People understand it a lot better than they did before. But it's all about, it's not algorithmic math. It's really deep learning, machine learning, and really, can we use these systems to help us make better decisions? More importantly, they will start making decisions for us. I say we're going to have intelligent assistants, not smart, but intelligent, that are really like guardian angels. They're going to tell us what we should do and need to do to make our lives better, so we can live longer, happier, and more productive lives. So that's door number one. In terms of quantum, we're the dawn of an entirely new era. With quantum computers coming in, it's going to change everything from geopolitical to everything. I mean, we have systems that do what would take 100,000 years or 10,000 years in 200 seconds. I was going to talk about the Chinese computer, but I'll just talk about Google. So we've got systems that with 200 seconds can process what would take a normal supercomputer 10,000 years. Now, at the same time, there's massive amounts of data around us, as I've said many times, 40 zettabytes of data here, which it would go back and forth to the moon 29 times. But the problem is it's growing now at about 68% per year. So we're in a state of infobesity. We need these systems. We need this AI. We need these quantum computers to make our life better, to understand the data, and again, help us solve these incredible problems, sustainability, impact challenges that we have, global climate change, et cetera. We need that assistance, and it's coming. It's coming sooner than we think.
Well, thank you both very much. I want to come to you each for closing thoughts and where you can be found online to continue the conversation around these topics and many others that you both have mentioned, because your industry, your interests are so wide in terms of what you are looking at and what you're investing in. There's a ton of continued conversation that our audience would love to have. So Wendy, let's start with you. Closing thoughts on the future of work and education, and then also where can you be found online to continue the conversation?
Absolutely. So I believe, anything that's going to help the underdog, right? Whether it's helping, the farmers, which you see what's happening in India right now. I think this is an opportunity in the agriculture space, big opportunities. But I think, when you're looking at, robots as well, when you think about it, when these self-driving trucks are going on, there's going to be a robot dropping off a package to these obscure towns all over the world. And I think the future is, we've got to embrace it. I think as an investor, we have to say to ourselves, what is it? And I look at more at anything that I could feel and touch, like meaning that I really would use in my own life is what I'm more likely to invest in. And so anybody can reach me at wendydiamond.com. You can see my foundation, Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, and all the companies I'm invested in, as well as the funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Gary, same to you. Closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great opportunity. This pandemic has opened up our eyes and our minds and our hearts in a whole lot of different ways. We've seen the kind of impact that we've been able to have on our lives. We, in the environment, the Himalaya Mountains, for the first time in 30 years, we can see it. So we know that we can have an impact. I'm bullish about technology, bullish about the future. I believe that using technology in the right ways will help us live a lot longer. I did a project at Stanford with some Stanford professors and my Skolkova students, living to 120 about 6 years ago. So it's in front of us. I mean, the technology, everything's converging at once, and I'm excited about it. We're believing and seeing companies from all over the world. I've got a Rwandan company, South African, Nigerian, German, companies from all over the world that have incredible technologies that really need to come out to the market. So we're bullish about it. Anyhow, you can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn. You can check me out on Twitter. I've got shows. In fact, next week I have the mayor of Miami, Suarez, and one of my friends that's got about over 50 billion in Bitcoin, talking about investing in Miami. $4.8 billion. He's going to announce it next week there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Gary and Wendy. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in as well. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, share the episode, and check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear from both Wendy and Gary more on today's subject and a lot more as well. And the entire family of VCTV speakers from around the world, as again, we bring the best and the brightest as investors to share with you their on-the-ground perspective and thoughts and insights around different technologies, industries, and regions around the world as well. If you'd like to be on a show like today, reach out. We'll find that right spot for you. A big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott and on all social media platforms, just like Gary and Wendy mentioned as well. Do reach out to all of us. We'd love to continue the conversation. Please make sure to add context when you do, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about as well. With that, we're going to take a short little break, and we'll be back here with more VCTV in just a few minutes. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.
Woo-hoo!
Bye. Woo!